You left it at home.
What?
All right, here we go. We are continuing our new series, Marvel Monday. We are watching all 23 MCU movies in the order they were released. I am coming to you from lovely Key West in Florida. We're on MCU number 5, Captain America, the First Avenger from 2011. We're still in phase 1 of the MCU. Here with me is Amy Goldman, like me, a newbie to the series. Joel Fenster, who has a man crush on Captain America. And Mark Gartner, who would gladly watch.
My sock, as always.
Socks as always. And joining us again is Annie King.
Her
another
birthday
MCU
was yesterday.
fan.
Happy birthday. Her birthday was Saturday. I mean, not yesterday.
That was
And Nick Prescott is here with a European perspective on the series. Grr. Okay, so look at us. We're practically a Comic-Con panel.
I know.
Okay, and all
Emphasis on
6
the
of us
comic.
watched it again this week, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think for me it was the first time. I had not seen it before.
Oh, wow.
Same.
All right, so we start as always with Joel in the background. So Joel, is Captain America really the first Avenger?
not in the comics. No, he actually doesn't join the team until issue 4. But he predates every other Marvel character created in the 60s by at least 20 years, with the exception of the
His story is in
Submariner.
the 40s.
Yeah, and the original Human
Oh.
Torch. So,
Right. So, and then as far back as 1997, there was serious talk of doing a feature film.
well, there was technically serious talk about doing a feature film before that, which actually got made, but we could debate whether it's worth watching just for shits and giggles and MST3King or just avoiding because it's absolutely terrible.
Oh, I would love to MST3K that.
It stars Matt Salinger, the son of recluse author J.D. Salinger, as Captain America.
So he was a catcher. I'm trying to make a joke.
Yeah,
I have nothing.
Yeah.
The joke is the film.
A captain in
So-
the rye?
Yeah, so I was
Yeah.
gonna say catcher in the American. I
Yeah,
don't know.
no, that
All
was
right. So, but then it
Joel,
got.
he has all the charisma of a who knows what, right?
of an Italian Red Skull.
Yeah.
There was an Italian Red Skull. In
Yeah,
that
the
movie?
Red Skull's Italian because apparently they were afraid of offending the Nazis at the time. I don't really remember.
Okay.
So
But I'm talking about the 1997 because
that's
it was
when,
embroiled in all kinds of who owns the rights and
yes, and that there were a lot of Marvel characters in play in the late 90s at various studios, and Cap was one of them. And eventually all of that, with the exception of Spider-Man, the Hulk, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, all got kind of, ironed out and wound up back at Marvel as they created Marvel Studios, first working with Paramount, and then obviously with Paramount and Disney, and then finally Disney alone. So
yeah, they got like some big ass loan from Merrill Lynch or something
yeah.
to make the movies. Okay, so here we are, Captain America, the first Avenger, not really, and so directed by Joe Johnston, who had directed another one of Joel's favorite comic book movies, The Rocketeer. So Joel, good choice, right?
Excellent choice. Johnston is good at nostalgia and getting that nostalgic feel. So, he definitely knew what he was doing. Similar kind of time frame. And as I said earlier, I think if you look at other films of his, they all kind of fall into that in various ways. So.
And here we are, defending the country against the Nazis, always a good topic. And so do you think he corrected some of his mistakes from The Rocketeer? Because that really didn't take off.
I don't know. Again, I don't know that Johnston made mistakes with The Rocketeer. I think The Rocketeer's problems are in the script itself. And maybe a couple of no, it's in the script itself for the most part. And I think that here you're dealing with, I don't want to call them better script writers. They're different script writers who are under different orders from the higher ups as to what to do about things. So
Right. I definitely got a feeling, even just watching these 5 movies, that these people were very vested in telling the story and telling it the right way,
correct.
which
Yes.
it really does show.
Yeah.
All right. So last week, the after credit sequence, which we didn't know what the blue thing was in the box, now we know is the Tesseract. Tesseract?
Tesseract.
All right. Is the Tesseract a device from the comic books?
Yes. Except it's referred to in the comic books, it's the cosmic cube.
Cosmic cube?
Yes.
Nothing like a Rubik's cube.
Nope. It's exactly what it looks like in the movies. And does kind of the same thing, but
And I kind of remember the Tesseract from one of the other movies I saw now that I've seen it. Am I right?
Yep.
But it's like 70 years later, they're still dealing with the Tesseract. Right? But now it's like Raiders of the Lost Tesseract.
Yes.
Because they have to
Well,
go
I mean,
find it.
It came from Thor way back when.
Yeah.
Right? So,
But
okay.
you only know because this movie had us flash back to Norway, right?
Yes.
Okay, I got that then, good.
So the funny thing to me was the skinny Chris Evans.
Oh my
Both
God,
ridiculous and fascinating at the same time.
it was amazing.
It was amazing because he looked like he was already posing for his pop figurine. You know, his head was a little bigger than his body. It was kind of funny. So, and then at some point in the movie, somebody says, "Get that kid a sandwich."
Right.
And I'm like, "You don't need a sandwich. Just spend a month with me and Amy. We'll fatten him up, no problem." And it was cute when it was cute when he picked up the garbage can.
Yes,
And himself. I'm like, okay, that's cute. But did we really need Bucky Barnes coming in and saying, pick on someone your own size? Really? All right. And Steve Rogers knows Bucky Barnes. I guess they were friends before this.
Yeah, like childhood friends.
Yeah, and obviously now that's their he's his man crush, and they have quite the bromance going on. I mean, that's one of the most touching parts of the movie is their relationship. And then we see Daddy Stark, what's his name?
Howard.
Howard being all reckless and outlandish and creating the serum. And obviously the apple doesn't fall far from that tree.
I thought that, yeah. And I liked him. I liked the guy who played him. I know last week we were talking about
John Slattery.
John Slattery,
thank you. And I really liked him, especially with his little mustache. I liked him a lot.
I was going to say that too. He looks more like Robert Downey Jr. You could see, I would see them more father and son.
Yeah.
I just with all of the British actors that they have in the series and the Australians, for some reason, the guy playing Howard Stark didn't meet with the dialect coach apparently because his accent falls down in a number of ways.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice it that much at all.
Yeah, I don't know. That kind of thing's always glaring to me.
Sure.
So what? I just thought of something and it went out of my head. All right.
So I want to know if Amy. I'm hoping Amy noticed that when Dr. Erskine, when Steve Rogers asked, "Where are you from?" and he said, "I'm from Queens, 73rd Street and Utopia Parkway."
Thank you, because I was like, no, it would be 73rd Avenue.
Because there is no 73rd Street and
No.
Utopia Parkway.
And I thought Annie and I could literally have walked there from where we used to live, but it's 73rd Avenue. I totally noticed that. Loved it.
So I'm going to have to put that in my goose.
Yes.
Geography. All right. So then the Shield, right? It is the Shield, right?
Yes.
The Shield comes and they need a candidate for the serum. And Tommy Lee Jones says he's too skinny. But what does it matter if they're going to shoot him up and make him muscly? What does it matter if he's skinny or not skinny? Who cares? Right?
Explain it. He wanted the bigger, more of what the image of a soldier was at that time.
For him, it was just
He
all
wanted
about
the bigger
being a
guy.
soldier,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But also he did mention like he passed every test, he followed orders, he did everything, like the other guy did everything that they asked of him.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
jumping on the
Did it wrong.
grenade, I'm like, really?
Yeah, come
Why,
on.
why would he jump on that? Everybody ran away. He should have run away. That's the
But
brilliant thing to do.
but that's who Steve Rogers is at heart.
Yes.
He'll
He is
jump
all
on a
about
grenade for
protecting-
you.
He will protect other people. That's who he is.
And then, of course,
But
they
you and I
shoot.
can't imagine being that way. That's the problem. We can't imagine being that way.
Yeah, I would run.
Yeah.
And then, of course, just like the Hulk, when he bulks up, his pants stay on.
Yeah.
And they fit perfectly.
They were a little snug,
And then, of course,
and they
there's
became
one-
capris.
Yes, a little
yes, they
shorter.
became capris. And of course, there's one vial of serum left. So the bad guy can come in because he knew there was going to be one left because he knows they only need 18. So there'd be one for him to steal, but he doesn't get away with it. And then what was Agent Carter always a British woman?
Yeah.
There was a TV show, Agent Carter, right?
Yep. Comes out of this. Well, it comes out of this and one of the shorts.
Really?
Agent Carter comes out of your shorts.
Yes, she does.
So did anyone else notice, and maybe you guys don't watch cartoons, but did anyone else notice that the whole flagpole thing was reminiscent of Mulan?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
that's
I'm a
funny.
big fan of Mulan. Yes. Yeah.
No.
That was so Mulan, you know,
Yeah,
it could have
right out
came
of it.
straight from there.
I was
Wow.
totally thinking, what flagpole has things on the bottom to take it off? Right?
And they're so easy to pull out. Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally thought that.
I'm like, okay. So when Steve is trying to save Agent Carter and she's in the yellow cab, there's only one yellow cab in all of New York City. So he finds the one, there's no others. This is the kind of comic book things we're supposed to just accept, right?
Yes.
And then the anti-aircraft guns have to shoot down one plane. There's like 20 of them, shoot down one plane, but they aim like stormtroopers and miss everything. Get nowhere near that plane. All right, and then he goes to get the Tesseract and there's no guards. He just walks in, hey, Tesseract, thank you.
What's up?
Where was
So-
everybody?
So did that remind anyone of Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah,
that was the
Yeah.
whole, like the,
Oh,
but why
You
were
know,
there no
the-
guards around? You would say at least one of you stay and guard the damn Tesseract.
yeah.
Okay. And then an hour into the movie, we're supposed to believe that he's dead. He's the star of the movie. He's not dead. We know he's not
Oh, yeah.
dead.
Of course.
Conceit, we'll accept
But
it.
no, he also said that he regenerates, so,
So he's
he's-
not dead.
yeah.
And not only that, he saves every single soldier that was ever in jeopardy. They all come marching back to the Alan Silvestri score. And his boyfriend says, let's hear it for Captain America. Come on. Is that, you talk about corny, that was corny.
There was a lot of corn in this movie, yeah.
Yeah.
It's intentionally like those old timey war movies. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah, and I'm being flip, but I didn't mind it at all. I thought it was very, very cute and the corn was fun but okay, so then we get to the end of the movie and maybe I closed my eyes for a second. And so the Tesseract did what to the Red Skull?
We
It
can't tell
tactic-
you.
Mark?
He touched it, and the way I read it in the trivia was that it opened up a wormhole and sucked him in. So just think of it like that.
He got sucked into a wormhole, but is he coming back?
you have to be patient.
You
That means
patient
yes.
grasshopper.
I mean, I had never heard of Red Skull, so I assume he must be something.
Oh,
Here's
he-
the
he
other
was-
thing I didn't really quite get is that the Tesseract is Judge Judy. Because if you're good, it makes you better. And if you're bad, it makes you worse. So,
No.
like the
No,
Tesseract
that-
is
you're-
some kind of
no,
mood
you're-
ring.
They're
You're
right.
thinking of
mixing
the
up the
serum.
super, yeah, That's a super soldier serum. That's what.
Oh, that wasn't the Tesseract.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Right,
But the
right.
serum makes you good. It makes you better.
Yeah. Stanley
That's why they
Tucci's German
wanted
says.
Steve to do it. That's why they wanted.
Because he was a
Steve
good
to go all
person.
good.
And that's why, do you remember back in The Incredible Hulk with Tim Roth, he took as Joel called it, a bastardized version of that serum, and that's what made him strong. And then he upped it and then became that stupid abomination. But it's supposed to be the same serum.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Which-
they called it Super Soldier, and I remember reading in my trivia for Hulk, they called it that as well. I was like, oh, look how they're connected. I like this.
And also think about it this way: the Red Skull, in this film at least, was the first recipient of Dr. Erskine's first version of it. So it made him
Much more evil because he had the evil in him.
Yeah.
And Hugo Weaving, obviously Australian, is he?
Yes.
Oh,
And so he, of course, he can use his Britishy Australian accent.
To play
But
German.
then, did it sound German?
I thought
Yeah.
it was good.
Who was
His
the
German
British
accent was
one?
accent.
Toby Small was British.
Toby Jones.
Toby Jones.
Toby Jones.
Toby?
Yeah. No,
I'm on vacation. I don't know what's going on.
Toby Jones. He's he's playing a German as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Zola's an
And
interesting character.
yeah, and Richard Armitage plays the Hydra agent that tries to steal the last vial, and until he goes in his little one-man James Bond submarine and gets dragged out of it.
Very James Bondy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he.
See, Joe, there's James Bond again. There's all James Bond connections because Dominic Cooper played Ian Fleming, didn't he?
Yes,
Wasn't
he
he
did.
the one? Yeah. Lots of James Bond going on. All right, so
Well,
my
Richard
last-
Armitage also was in The Hobbit, so people will have seen him as Thorin.
Yeah.
All right, so on my review, I really did think it was tremendous fun, and I liked the nostalgia part of it. That was also fun for me, and
World Fair.
Yeah.
it all moved along.
Another movie that takes place in Flushing.
Yeah.
All right, so I, like Joel last week, I'm going to give it 3.25 stars. Ames, do you want to go next?
Wow. Sure, I give it a good 3 stars. I liked it a lot. I gave this movie that many stars, and I gave Thor 3.25 stars. And I still Thor is my favorite of the 5 so far. So I've got to go to 3. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought, here we go again, another movie that takes place during a war and with the army, but I enjoyed it. And I think moving him now to 2011 became a new fish out of water story, hopefully, which I love from last week. So I did like it. I liked it a lot. Much more than I thought, because I have some kind of crazy aversion to Captain America. And I had no idea of his story. And I thought his whole story being, selling the war bonds. And that's why he's Captain America was the cutest thing. I had a huge smile on my face that whole time. His actual origin. Loved it.
Yeah, and I love that he was wearing, I assume, the original costume from when he first started.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a basis for it.
And so
Yeah,
it wasn't
yeah.
like a big flashy today costume. It looked like a 1940s version,
Yeah.
I guess. Joel?
Until he decided to tweak it, which was very cute.
Yeah, even right down to the shield that he's using in the War Bond shows. That was his original shield for the first 3 or 4 issues, if I
That's
remember
great.
correctly. So
And this is in the
Right.
1960s were the first issues?
no, he was created in 1940 or 41. He's
41.
Oh, so it was the 40s,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But then he was revived 20-something years later by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby when I think, was it Timely Comics?
The original comics were Timely, then it morphed into Atlas, then it became Marvel. So
And
Oh,
then
wow.
in the 60s, he came back. They plucked him and
Yeah.
brought him back.
So,
And,
Joel, question for you.
Yeah.
If he was created in the 1940s, did they actually, obviously Captain America didn't exist as in the way it does in the movie. But did they have somebody as Captain America selling war bonds? Was that a real function of the character?
I yes and no. I'm not up on that type of history of the comics as I should be. I think there was an aspect to him that did help sell things, but I don't think it was the biggest aspect. The comic alone was selling like 1 million copies a month, you know.
Right, but if they put in the comic that Captain America was selling bonds, they might actually have seen that as, you know, buying it from Captain America.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that-
now his entire backstory is even more interesting to me, knowing that he actually came out of World War II.
And the
that's
40s,
why he's
yeah.
Captain America. That's
in the
really
movie.
great.
In the movie, when you see the kids are reading the Captain America
Yeah.
comic book and it's got him punching out Hitler on the cover,
Yeah.
that was the original cover of the first issue of Captain America.
Wow.
You know? And the
And
Red
it's
Skull
not-
dates back to there too. It's, you know.
And it wasn't in a sealed bag? Ay, ay, ay. So Joel, what's your star ratings?
I'm gonna give it a solid 3.5 for me.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Well, you know, like I said, Joel is quite the fan.
Captain America is one of my 2 favorite Marvel Comics characters. I've read
The other
him
one
pretty
is behind you right now.
The other one is behind me, lurking. One of the things I really loved about this movie is there are so many throwbacks to other things in Marvel Comics that'll probably never come to any fruition as the series goes along, but they're interesting little Easter eggs that are just kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool. Things like at the World's Fair Expo, there's a thing about an android in the foreground of one of the shots, and that's the original Human Torch back from the 30s and 40s.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying. Really, was that it really was done by a group of people who really love the comics and really want to do it right. And so they hit on those things, knowing, you know, for me, obviously, I didn't get that, but
Right.
it's interesting for me to hear you say that, because I'm like, oh, okay, that's
Like all
That's
the,
cool. And then that reminds me of when we saw Peter Parker at Flushing Meadow Park, it was for whatever it wasn't a week or 2 ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
no, but you would have never known that kid was supposed to be Peter Parker.
well, at the
That's
time,
what we learned. We
yeah,
read about.
that was a retroactive thing. They changed that to later.
Oh.
But even like all of those soldiers that he rescues from the prison with Bucky, those are the Howling Commandos, Dum Dum Dugan and like Gabe Jones, and I can't remember all of them, but those are comic book characters that in World War II worked with Nick Fury as part of Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos.
Oh, the Howling Commandos, sure.
Yeah.
of course.
So they, work them in. But you didn't mention Stan Lee's cameo, and I think it's interesting because Stan Lee had very little to do with the creation of Captain America. It was all Joe
Right.
Simon and Jack Kirby.
Right.
But on top of that, the man he's sitting next to and talking to in that scene is actually actor Reb Brown, who played Captain America on 2 TV movies in the 70s.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
So,
Yeah.
I was getting to it next.
oh, sorry.
Mark is all, look at Mark being all professional with the turtleneck.
I
I
know,
thought it
what's going on with that?
I thought it would make me look smarter.
Ah,
Fighting
okay.
a hickey.
It makes
Yeah,
you
we
look
can
like
still
it makes you look like you work for Spectre.
No, Mark, we can still see your face.
Nice.
Peace reference.
If you're
You
asking
gotta
me,
put on your glasses, Mark.
yeah, I should have. I'm jumping on the quarter-star wagon too, so I'm going 3.25 stars. I thought it was a touch better than Thor. I liked what, as you guys were just saying, I thought they did a great job with the character, kept it very true to the comics. I think Chris Evans was the perfect choice. And I really liked the way that they brought the way he would throw the shield to life. I know it's, even for someone with the abilities of Captain America, I mean, it's kind of unrealistic to, throw a shield while you're running, have it bounce over 2 walls, pair of boobs, hit a bad guy in the head, and then bounce back to you. So I just thought that it's exactly what used to happen in the comic. So And sorry, one more thing. I did like the love story. I thought it worked a lot more than
A lot
Thor.
better than last week. Yes.
But I mean, when the girl was flirting with Steve, and then of course they had to have the kiss exactly when Agent Carter came around the corner. I'm
You know
like,
who that girl was?
please.
Do you know who that actress was?
No.
Natalie Dormer.
Who's
Mhm.
that?
Game
She
of
was
Thrones.
in Game of Thrones and The Hunger Games, and
Okay.
she's been around.
I
Obviously.
had no idea.
Yeah, she's definitely been around. Annie King.
I would go with 3 1/4. It's a great story. The character is great. It's just, and you see that as we go later on, his character, and you know, he's just true to himself. I thought there were a lot of like cute little things in it that made it funny. But then I also felt as I was watching it, a lot of like the whole forest scene was kind of reminiscent of Star Wars, where they were doing that chase in the forest, and then the whole finding the Tesseract in the crypt, and that was all Indiana Jones, and then the flagpole Mulan, and it just felt like they, and again the James Bond with the devices on that, you know, it just felt like there was a lot of things that it pulled from, you know.
But in a loving homage,
Yes.
not in a crappy stealing this shit way.
Right.
No,
Like Amy and her memes.
Shut up.
Shut up.
I'd like to, Frank, when you get a chance, I want to see if you can go back and get the stars from all the previous movies, because I think Annie and I have been like in sync.
Really?
Same stars, I feel like. Maybe I'm wrong.
Hi, Nick, your turn.
3.5.
Everybody
Three
start
and
your
a
clock.
half. Wow.
Yeah, 3.5. It's probably my favorite of the entire series. And it's
Joe
having
will
watched the
fight you
entire-
on that one.
well,
Not by
well,
much.
fight me for my opinion.
I'm not going to fight him
Yes.
for you.
No, it much like one of the things I liked about Thor is that it contains itself nicely. This one is broader scope, but it doesn't go overboard. Some of the later movies, they obviously have to keep expanding the scope of what's going on, but some of them later on really start to make your head spin. And this one, you follow the track nicely. And I know not everybody likes the feel of the old timey movies. I happen to actually, I go back and forth on some of those. I really like the way it clicked here. And the relationship between Cap and Agent Carter is very realistic. And it's one to pay attention to as it goes on.
No, I agree too. And Tommy Lee Jones was the perfect cranky guy.
Oh God, he always is.
Yeah, and it was very
Stanley
fun.
Tucci. Stanley Tucci,
And
I think,
Stanley
can do
Tucci.
no
Love Stanley
wrong.
Tucci,
Yeah.
no matter what he does. But the
Yeah.
thing that I think is so great, really, is that you love a good origin story. That's what this was all
Yes.
that.
Mhm.
So this is fun, I think,
Yeah, and
because
especially because I had no idea about Captain America. I think I even said a week or two ago, the only thing I know about Captain America is his shield has power. His shield doesn't really have power. It's just made of that material that's really strong. I
Right.
thought
Is
his
it
entire
vibranium?
being was about the shield.
Which is
Yeah,
going to
something like
show
that.
up later on.
Mhm.
Really?
spoiler alert.
Not spoil. Yeah, well, that's a spoiler alert. But to just throw in something interesting, in the comic books, his shield is actually a composite of the vibranium that's mentioned in the film and adamantium, which is what Wolverine's claws are made.
Adamantium?
Adamantium, which is what Wolverine's claws are made out of. They could not use the adamantium in the movie because the X-Men were over at Fox at the time.
Oh my God, that's great.
What a tangled web we weave.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, that's a good segue. Speaking of web, did anybody else think that the antique store owner, the old lady, was Rosemary Harris, who played Aunt May in the Tobey Maguire's? Looked just like her until she spoke. When he walked in, I was like, "It's Aunt May."
Oh, how funny.
There have been so many Aunt Mays. Who knows?
Yeah.
No, from the 2002 trilogy with Tobey Maguire. The one that really looks like
She didn't look anything like Marissa Tomei.
No, she doesn't.
I see the resemblance you're talking about, but I knew it was not Rosemary Harris. But the old man that was guarding the Tesseract that the
Yeah,
Red Skull
Filch.
stole it from. Yeah,
David
right.
Brad-
I was like, Natasha's like, it's David Bradley. I was like, that's not David Bradley. No, it was David Bradley.
David Bradley.
That's the first I've ever seen him playing a sympathetic character.
Yeah.
And so Joel, here's another James Bond connection, if you will.
Okay.
Captain America will next be seen in the Avengers. They used to do that with James Bond all the time, right?
Oh, sure. Yep. Yep.
That's
they
the
did
only
that with
time I
Thor,
ever
too.
Yeah, they did
remember
it last
seeing.
week. It was last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that the connection to James Bond, because that's where I remember seeing
Sure.
James Bond will next be in
And yeah,
From Russia with Love, whatever. it was.
until they stopped
Oh, wow.
figuring out what they were doing next. You know.
Yeah.
When the movie.
So
Yeah.
they're like, we have no more books. We don't know what
Right.
to do.
Well, we'll figure it out when we go along. So.
That's
Yeah.
funny. And speaking of the end, I just have to say my favorite part of the whole movie was the post-credit scene where they flowed right into the trailer for Avengers coming out May 2012.
Yep.
And it said some assembly required. Killed me. I thought that was brilliant.
Right. So in the post-credit sequence, Fury approaches Rogers and proposes a mission with worldwide ramifications. That's a teaser.
That's a teaser.
Sure.
That's next week.
All right, so next week, and I actually reviewed this movie already, The Avengers, which they had to call Marvel's The Avengers for some reason, I thought.
It's the British
Well-
people's fault.
It's a Brit
Yeah.
fault? Because they own The
It's
Avengers
fault.
with Patrick McNee and
They didn't want the confusion.
Dinah Rigg.
Dinah Rigg.
Yeah.
So Marvel's
What?
The Avengers is next week.
Yeah.
Oh.
Over here it was called Marvel's Avengers. In Britain it was called Avengers Assemble.
Oh, wow.
We couldn't do Avengers Assemble?
Pay attention to that phrase, and when you actually hear Captain America first utter it.
Okay.
Which is why I love some assembly required.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Just
Well,
pay,
I
pay
mean-
attention. Pay attention through the series and listen out for it.
Well,
Okay.
all 5 movies we watched, Nick Fury was like, come here, little boy. So that all comes to
Yeah.
fruition in next week, number 6.
Yeah, the end of
And,
phase one.
Anybody have any file? Oh, that's the end of phase 1?
Next week.
Anybody else have any additional comments before we say goodbye?
Last thing I'll say is just to tie in. So the Tesseract, the blue thing you saw at the end, Howard Stark grabbed it from the bottom of the ocean.
Mhm.
And then that ties back to Iron Man 2, when Fury gave Tony that box of stuff from his dad, and he found the drawings that helped him create the new, more powerful arc reactor. The original arc reactor, I think, was supposed to be based on the Tesseract that Howard picked up there at the end of the movie. So that's how his idea for the power cell came to fruition.
And is that similar to the necklace the old lady dropped into the ocean? No?
Yes.
All right, so thank you for that tidbit. I did not know that. And we will reconvene next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Channel.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Happy birthday again.
Thank you.